we've been engaging a lot with Stephen Mitchell. I actually encountered Stephen Mitchell a while back because a quote from one of his translations is in the Reform Prayer Book, from his translation of Psalm 51. And so I set it to music a while back. It's one of those psalm texts that I come to both in times of fear and trouble, but also in times of joy and hope. It's one of those ones where I kind of, it covers a lot for me. So, and I feel especially in days such as ours, we're feeling that mixture of emotions constantly. This is Create a Pure Heart Within Me. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Then I will stand and sing out the power of your forgiveness. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. Adonai, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. And my mouth will declare your praise.
Wow, that is spectacular, Jacob. Thank you. That verse, by the way, is very important to me too, the Lev Tahor, the first verse that you translated there. And we used to sing that. I don't know who wrote it, but there's a very traditional setting from my Orthodox days, Lev Tahor. We used to sing every year for their Slichot service. We've cut it out in more recent years because we've replaced it now, as we often do. But it's a spectacular. Your writing is gorgeous, your singing is gorgeous, and you're choosing these incredibly profound gems within the Psalms. And I think everybody here is beginning to appreciate how rich they are. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. And again, that's Stephen Mitchell's translation. The Reform Prayer Book only changed one word, Lord to Adonai. Otherwise, it's his translation of those verses.
Well, it's beautiful. Thank you. And yeah, so, and I love that the class now knows who Stephen Mitchell is. He also did, by the way, a fantastic translation of the book of Job, which is another one of his famous works, which is very interesting. But thank you, everybody, for welcoming Rabbi Rapport yesterday to being a substitute teacher while I did the funeral. It is strange days to be doing a funeral. It's a little bit better than it was when I was doing funerals when the height of the COVID deaths were overwhelming funerals. So we no longer had the time limits. We used to have a 10-minute time limit in the cemeteries because the staff of the cemeteries were so overwhelmed with burying everybody. But it still was weird to do it via Zoom for most people. And I think I was telling Harold this morning, the hardest thing is when you do a funeral, you're doing it for the mourner who is right there with you. But because we were also doing it to Zoom it out to many people so they could participate, and many of you probably were on there, it's hard to think, well, oh my God, am I loud enough? And you're wearing a mask, and will the Zoom pick it up? And you don't want to have to be thinking about that and do a funeral at the same time. and technology is never my friend. So so that was a little bit difficult. But luckily it was a nice enough day so that we could do a graveside. No in-chapel funerals are allowed yet. So all burials now are graveside, but thank God we could even do that. We know there are places in the world where it got so bad that it wasn't even possible for people to attend burials. So I'm very grateful. This moment has made me so grateful for every little ability to express a ritual around issues of illness and death. And, Janet was not able to spend much time with her mother these last 7 weeks because her mother was in the hospital and in a rehab facility. And how hard is that? But she got to spend Sunday with her. And I was on the phone with them, and we said the final Shema together with her mother. And Janet is convinced her mother really heard it and was conscious, and we were able to chant it together. Janet and I chanted it together, and we hope that her mother was, and her mother passed away just 2 hours after that. Anyway, so we're grateful for things that we didn't even imagine would be a gift, right? The ability to see somebody or be with somebody in those moments. All right, folks, so I know that you started Psalm 8 yesterday, and we'll go back to Psalm 8 tomorrow, which has some real juicy things in Psalm 8. But we will go back to individual sharing today, and I think we have an order. And thank you, Harold, who is in the middle of the woods with spotty internet. And so Babette, I think, is going to be sharing the sharings today. But Harold, thank you for your yeoman Herculean efforts. Really appreciate that.
He truly is amazing. So yes, he sent me an entire list. He also put it in the chat of who we are going in order of. The first one is going to be Cindy Levitt's drawing. So I'm going to bring that up now.
Wow. Fantastic. Wow.
So Cindy.
All right, Cindy, speak to us.
Well, this is my what came out from Psalm 7. And, so it really spoke to me when you were talking about viewing it from like the internal demons and the internal foes. So, so I have a lot of stuff going on in the head, really sort of sharp things, and it just brings out all this anger. But at the same time, Yud Hey Vav Hey is there.
I see that in the top. I see Yud Hey Vav Hey.
Right, and the peaceful pause on the bottom of the picture, so that it's all there. And you were talking about the rainbow being a bow, sort of in the other direction. And so it was just, that's what came out of it.
I love the mouth there, the crying out, which we've seen often as the psalmist crying out. That is evokes that so powerfully.
Yeah, and it's like a sharp tongue.
The sharp tongue, yep.
Sharp tongue, and so I mean, I like other people to tell me what they see in it too, because when you look at a piece over and over and at different times, you see different things.
Absolutely.
Even I do.
Absolutely. How large is it? Is this watercolor, or what is the medium?
So it's watercolor, pastel, graphite, chalk, charcoal, and Conti crayon.
Oh, wow.
So it's a whole bunch of different things. It's not that big. It's about, I put in I think it's like 12 by 15, 11 by 15, something like that. It's not very big, but.
I love all the connection between the sharpness in the mind or the head, the edginess, the anger, and the sharpness, of course, of the tongue, which really goes to what we were speaking about. When we ourselves are wounded and in pain, we often hurt others. It doesn't just stay inside. It doesn't just stay, okay, well, I'm a broken person, I'm miserable inside. But often people take exactly the ways they've been broken and are hurting, and through their words, it doesn't have to be a physical abusiveness, through their words hurt somebody else. And so by the visual consistency between those things in the head and then the tongue is very powerful.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you see that stuff. It's you don't really, when I work, I don't really have an idea in my head necessarily, all of it. I might have a general something that gets me started, and then I go from there as I'm working. So, whatever.
That's a great description of the creative process, right? And that's what makes creativity so beyond just the intellectual. There's something mysterious that happens in the creation of great art. It's not totally describable in those ways or understandable. And that's part of, and as you described, sometimes it's in the relationship to the viewer, to the participant, that brings something out that the creator doesn't even intend, but that's actually part of the art itself.
Right. And, we were talking about or thinking about, that Yod He Vav He knows what's inside.
Yeah.
Or, is understanding that. So with the, with the visual of that, in my thinking. Up there.
And I love the combination of the Yud He Vav He in terms of where you have words. You have Yud He Vav He up on the top, and there's the rainbow kind of up above, but then there's this thing coming out of the forehead, which is also rainbow-esque in color.
Yeah.
And then the Sela in the bottom.
Right. And the thing coming out of the forehead I was thinking of was like Yud He Vav He, the influence of Yud He.
So interesting. Wonderful. Do we want to have a couple of comments, or should we go to the next and have people comment at the end of all of them? Because this is different than the words. So maybe one or two people say something for Cindy's piece, since it's.
So Donna has her hand up. So Donna, if you'll unmute yourself.
Okay. So powerful, Cindy. Wow. Like I just felt the energy coming out of it. I love the sharp tongue, and it felt like the energy was coming out of the head and going in all directions. And that's, when someone is overcome by triggered emotion and not thinking about what they're doing, it's just chaos that goes out in all directions. And at first I didn't notice Sela on the bottom, and at first I didn't notice Yud He Vav He on the top, because I was so looking at the energy of it. Very powerful. I really like it.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
And
Right, let's
Benjamin.
take another comment, and then we'll just to make sure we have room for everybody today.
Okay, Benjamin.
I love this piece. It's just beautiful. But what struck me is the resemblance of the head to the Statue of Liberty screaming at God.
Ah, beautiful. Wow, what a great connection.
Actually, after I had worked on it, I was thinking that same thing myself, that it sort of looked like, could, the points could be like the Statue of Liberty, and just the shape of the head. Thank you, Benjamin. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, let's go to our next piece, and obviously keep writing in the comments so that Cindy can see anything else that you have to respond to that.
All right, so we are going to the writings, and Michael Goldstein is our first
yes.
one.
We were about to get to Michael on Monday.
Exactly. So Michael, if you'll unmute yourself. I know it takes a moment for some. And Michael, are you there, my dear? Hang on one second. The thing about it is when I TA, I can't really see if people popped off.
I know that Michael came in before. Is he still here?
I see him. Let me hit unmute. Michael, darling. And then if not, we will move forward. Oh, I don't see him visually.
We lose him? He might have dropped out. Okay.
Right, exactly. All right, so we're going to move forward.
Move forward. We'll definitely read his.
Absolutely. Okay, so next on the list is Donna. So Donna, thank
Got
you.
it. I'm unmuted. Oh God, my God, Adonai, I take refuge in you, invisible energy of the great unknown. I call out to you from the depth of my soul, and I find you there. You show up whenever I remember to let you in. When I lose myself in darkness, you connect me to the light that was always there. Please help me when I forget. The world can be so frightening, Adonai. I judge when people pledge allegiance to a golden calf, when they swallow a Clorox potion of lies. But then I look in the mirror. To what demons do I pledge allegiance? What lies do I tell myself for comfort, even as I seek the truth? Deliver me from my blind spots, Adonai, so that what I have to offer won't be so muddy. Help me to stop feeding myself a diet of stories that lull me into complacency. My transgressions may not rival those of the blatantly wicked, yet I have caused my share of pain. I have withheld what could have been given. I have disappeared too often, entangled in my own webs of self-sabotage. Then I reap the consequences of the seeds I have sown. Not all ruptures can be repaired, I know. But my heart is creaking open on its rusty hinges, Adonai, and I'm willing to try. Grant me the clarity to know what is mine to do, and the humility to know what I need to let be. Oh God, my God, I pray for healing. Oh God, my God, I pray to love.
Wow. Wow, Donna. Talk to us.
Well, you know, the psalm talked about, you know, any transgressions might not be real transgressions, but I don't believe that. I believe that, you know, we all do things that are not so nice, and, you know, we hurt people and we withhold and we sabotage ourselves and we sabotage situations. And you know, I just, as I was writing this, just tried to get to the heart of what was there for me. And my prayer is to be, you know, to do whatever I have to do to get unmuddy, you know, because, you know, so many of my good intentions can fall flat.
Well, this is a beautiful example of a psalm as a prayer, as a personal prayer, which a lot of the psalms are. And what you've done is to take much of the language of the psalm, but make it so much yours. And I really love how you use I pointed out that Yud Hey Vav Hey, then Elohai. So Yud Hey Vav Hey, my God. But you catch this with this English, the emphasis. If you just said, oh God, you know, that means something, but oh God, and then my God, you really capture what the Hebrew is going for, is the sense of, yes, this is the God of everything, but right now I'm talking to my God.
You know, it was that Debbie Friedman song that stayed in my head after Jacob sang it last week.
Which was that? Just remind me.
Oh God, my God, forever.
Oh, turn down, morning into dancing.
It's not the same. It's not used in the same way.
Well,
but it's
actually that is from Psalm 30, right? Is that Psalm 30?
Yes, it is. Yeah, morning into dancing, based on Psalm 30.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right that I was making it personal.
But that use of "Oh God, my God" is throughout the Psalms. This is a standard to use. Say Yud Hey Vav Hey, which kind of means the impersonal, the everything, the universe. But then to go from "Oh God" to "My God," which is what Debbie Friedman did in using the language of Psalms. So you're absolutely, it's really beautiful, because that contrast is, I'm not just to whom it may concern, God. You know, I'm not just the blank power in the universe that has created the heavens and the earth. I'm reaching out to the one who's responsible for my breath, to my soul, to my life, to my being, wherever and whatever that is. I take refuge in you. That's very, very, very powerful. Beautiful.
There a while back there was a discussion here about, Psalms being too personal or whether they should be more universal. And I'm a firm believer that the personal is political, and that when you get to the heart of the personal, it can reach other people in that same place.
Yep. It's that endless question of, in the particular, can we see the universal? And honestly, we more often, when we go particular, can understand some deep truths. I also love in this your references to things that are not universal, so to speak, and not ahistorical, but very much in the moment we're in now. To say, swallow a Clorox potion of lies. Everyone who's alive right now completely understands that. So I like that you both have timeless language about calling out from the depth of my soul. That's timeless, anybody in any moment in history. But you're also very much speaking to us who are alive right now to this a Clorox potion of lies. Boy, does that resonate, huh? So thank you. Beautiful. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so we have a very unique offering. It's from Allison, and it's a musical piece that she sang. So Allison, can you unmute yourself? Do you want me to play it?
I may as well go all in.
Okay, got you. All right, so hold on one second. All right.
Yeah. So this is sort of a menagerie of all the Psalms, and it came to me actually when I was not trying to write the Psalm. It came to me as a few notes, and I feel like it's a Psalm in retrospect. So
okay, here we
I'll
go.
Just to my daddy. Ooh. My daddy, that first time on my two-wheeler with training wheels, okay. But that day, on that day, they came off. I rode to the end of the block myself. And my daddy was beaming. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. I can ride.
Wow, Allison, talk to us.
So, so again, it was really weird because I wrote a few notes and I liked them, and I kind of sang it into my phone, and I do this many times and then nothing ever comes out of it. And so I kept going back, and another pasuk would come to me, and it was after a few lines, and I looked back and I realized this is like very psalm-like. And so then I started looking and seeing some of the metaphors of the wheels, being the life cycle, and my daddy being the source of light and universal, and independence and freedom, having the wheels taken off, and again, and ironically, what you had just said to Donna about the way you see the universe and God and how it's frequently within, and my difficulty in struggling with the universe and nature and beings and all of that. But I try to intellectualize it, and each time I get knocked on my ass because something else happens, and I try to say it's a coincidence or something, but it's kind of spiritual sometimes.
Fantastic. Really a great expression of being inspired and not knowing where it's going to lead or come to or bring you to someplace new. I really love it. I really love it. And I also love that you gave yourself this kind of freedom, that experiencing the Psalms is helping you access something that has, by your description, often gotten stuck before. That's exactly how it should all work. And over-intellectualizing isn't a good idea for Psalms. I mean, that's why we try to balance it out. And this is,
Especially considering I'm not an intellectual, so that's even makes it worse.
well, you know, you've gotten something that's very, very powerful here. And you can see why image of parent and God often get mixed up together, right? I mean, that's often mixed up together as the image of parent and God. And this is a fantastic expression of it.
Well, it's also that I don't really see such God, like God didn't give me the life. My father gave me life. My father's my source of life and my protector and my parents.
Well,
So
and that's why
kind
when
of
we sing Avinu Malkeinu, the author of Avinu
that's
Malkeinu.
exactly what my sister said. You
Well,
rabbis stick together.
well, parents are a very powerful image in our liturgy. And because how could we possibly understand what God is? So we have images,
Right.
king, you know, melech, malchut, sovereignty. But then we have the most powerful, perhaps one of the most powerful prayers is Avinu Shabashamayim or Avinu Malkeinu. And it's all about recalling to even come close to what we have. And David Blumenthal, who is a professor of Jewish theology at Emory University, he went so far as to write a whole book about God as the abusive parent. That sometimes the way that we can those of us who have had abusive parents, you look at the way God behaves sometimes in the Chumash and in the Tanakh, not exactly a protective, loving parent. Sometimes God is actually quite. So Blumenthal goes even a step beyond and says, well, yeah, we can understand God through the parent images, but sometimes even the negative ones are true. So that's really powerful. Thank you for that.
Thank you for allowing me to do it.
Beautiful. Love it, Allison.
All right, Lori.
So it's kind of ironic that mine comes after Allison's because mine's kind of based on a parent thing, but it wasn't so positive. So a moan during a restless night. I thought going to sleep would calm me, but demons take over in the quiet of the night. They stalk me, stomp on me, shred me. Okay, I did something bad. I said something wrong, thought something awful. What's the big deal? I toss and turn, drown in my own sweat. Sigh. Come on, get mad with me, mutilate my enemies, rip them to pieces. Can't you soothe my frantic heart, nurse my swollen eyes, expand my lungs so I can breathe? It's not my fault, really. But maybe I can just stop it, roll over to the other side, see it another way. Maybe there's no one out there clogging my arteries, squeezing my eyes, strangling my throat. Maybe I need to breathe my own air. It's a cloudy day, but the sun doesn't care, just watches the shadows and continues to shine no matter what. It speaks in some faraway voice. Hello, hello, is anyone there? You are 6 feet under, 6 feet away, 6 feet under. You dig your own grave and bathe in the muck. Come back. If you fight this thing, it will only get stronger. Surrender. Let go. Drift with me in the endless sky. It's the only way out. You know that. Sigh.
I love this, Lori. Speak to us. Tell us about writing this in Psalm 7.
Well, I don't know why, and I wrote this really fast for some reason. Not to go into the psychology of it, but you know, my mother used to wash my mouth out with soap all the time. I could like taste it when I read this psalm. That's exactly the physical sensation that came to me. And you know, when you're little, I won't get to the psychology of it, but when you're little, there's not a lot you can do to really protect yourself except kind of hide in whatever way you can. And then, you know, and as an adult, I need to come back to myself. And I think this is true with everyone in the world. And in a way, you have to, me anyway, I have to surrender and let go and be with what is in the moment. And the drifting in the sky is not really a passive thing. It's life infusing for me. It's what it's all about. I'm there, I'm present, and then I can save the world or help the powers that be. So it was very personal to me, this poem.
Yes. So do you remember what in the psalm evoked that particular memory? Was there a phrase or was it an overall thing of the psalm?
Well, I think like the second line when they talked about the lion
Uh-huh.
shredding, you know, that's the image that came up. And,
Wow.
you
That's
know, the,
powerful.
yeah, people shred us in a way, but we have the power. We don't have the power to change them necessarily, but we do have the power to self-heal
Yeah.
and heal the world through that by being present. That's
And I feel like you're using what I love is I see the influence of other Psalms in this, which is fantastic, Lori, that I see that Psalm 6, the drowning in my own sweat, the every night causing my bed to float and wearing out my bed with sighing. So I love that language and that imagery continues to integrate into your thinking.
yeah.
And the transition of our Psalm where if I did this, I should get this, but hold on, I'm actually innocent. Definitely your Psalm really expresses that rhythm. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And I assume the sigh is a Selah, right? Is that,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
I think I put one extra Sella
that's
in.
okay. That's okay. But you understand the role of a Selah. It's like
Oh, yeah, the pause.
kind of you're accepting it. This is the truth. Maybe you don't want it to be the truth, but Selah is okay. I've got it. Now I know what my work is in the world. Now I know what it means to be a human being. I can't go back and change what happened to me. I can't rewrite my personal history, but I have work to do. And that work is surrender, let it go, drift with me in the endless sky. It's the only way out. You know that. Sigh, Selah. I love that ending.
And I think in the moment of the pause, if we can remember to pause, that's like where we can find redemption. That
Uh-huh.
nobody
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that, Lori.
All right,
Michael
Jeremy.
Goldstein appear? Did we get Michael Goldstein back or no? Okay, Jeremy.
Okay, this is called The Passion of George Floyd, a shigayon of a queer white bystander singing in memory of George Floyd, usurping his story. My God, I name you to have somewhere to hide, but pursuers are dragging me out of the car. Who are they who tear my soul like lions, kings of the jungle? Can they surpass you, my king? I'm losing my chance to escape. My God, have I torn my lion's soul, rending it into pieces, lost shards of the whole? We all know one day the men dressed in blue with badges and shields will tear the life out of you. Step on a crack and they'll break your back. One mistake is all that it takes. The shopkeeper had no issue with me, still I passed him counterfeit. Mentholated smoke was my pitiful goal. My vanity was I thought I could win, forgetting white people think my skin is my sin. For my skin, I now have a knee on my throat. I cry out, I can't breathe, there's no air in my brain. My skin makes them trample each breath I have left. The lynching party is winning again. God help me, I am not ready for death. The number you dialed is busy or temporarily out of service. Please check the number and dial again. Black carrion lies on concrete. Kuma Hashem biafecha chanase, biavrot torerai, viora elai mishpat sivita. The Assembly of Nations are waiting, so am I, for you once again to reign from on high. Judge harshly, not third or second degrees, but to the full extent of your laws. Judge me as well, see my flaws, but know that I was one of the just. And I still have the integrity that my foe tried to trample in shit. Put an end to their wickedness once and for all. Choke their hold. Let their power cease. You are my protector. You stand by my side. You save the upright of heart. And your anger grows every day when you see those who will still not repent. So whet your sword, bend your bow and take aim. In hot pursuit of the wicked is God, who sees them pregnant with the will to do ill, but their issue will all be born dead. They themselves are doomed, trapped in a pit that they had rushed to dig. Once they crushed men's skulls, but now God's billy club is crushing their skulls instead. And now I succumb to the darkness of death. I would sing praises to God, but I can't sing without breath.
Mm.
A white Jewish faggot wrote these words, not George Floyd, but I wanted to honor his story. In my mind, I can hear black voices shout back, "You can't write this, faggot, because you are white," and they well may be right, but despite this, the words have been written.
Wow. Jeremy, amazing. Can you speak to us a little bit? And I just want to make sure everybody notices that Jeremy actually has used the 18 verses. And if you look at what he's done with each verse, it is definitely inspired by or connected to the original verses in some way, in some ways responding negatively or inversely to the verses, but just to see that structure. So Jeremy, speak to us.
Well, many of you may have seen my first venture into this, which I posted. I always meant to go through the entire psalm and see how it would go. So I pushed myself through it, and this is how it landed. And it's bookended by these two autobiographical statements, which I can't really talk about.
Well, this is really a brilliant reworking of the psalm, making it very specific for the moment, but obviously so profoundly timeless and an expression. And both the prefix, I'm not sure what you'd call that, the preamble and the postamble are very powerful parts of the psalm, in the same way that the superscriptions and often the postludes are really parts of the psalm, even though they're notes to the reader. And Jeremy is capturing this in a way that I don't think we have seen yet, which is that the superscription, and many of you have done this with the superscription. Ultimately, it doesn't matter whether or not it's part of the psalm. It is part of the psalm, and it helps us to affect the psalm, access the psalm. Very important, really, really powerful. And what an incredible use of this psalm to respond to our contemporary moment. Thank you, Jeremy. Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Do we have time for another one, or are we? How are we doing time-wise?
So right now, the time now is 10:40. Sorry for my phone.
Yeah.
Do you want to do one more?
I just don't want to interrupt Ben in the middle of it. Let's see.
So we have about 5 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Ben, why don't you read yours? And if we don't have full time, we'll come back to it tomorrow morning, okay? But
Sure.
we just start at least by reading it, and we'll see how far we get.
Okay. Reflections on reading Psalm 7. Righteousness and justice pursue, the just one commanded, and to his righteous judgment my being I subjugate, fully accepting the justice of the verdict, trusting you, the judge, to know my intents. Righteousness and justice pursue, though, is communally commanded, which to our peril we are disregarding.
Wow.
Uneven justice we've been dispensing, meeting unjust verdicts, favoritism and racism built into the system. Rent apart by our fierce prejudices, weakened and divided by deadly tools of our own devices, righteousness and justice pursue that you may thrive is the imperative we need to heed to heal the wounds and succor the wounded.
Wow. I really love the way you've picked up, because you can know the Hebrew, the Hebrew words for righteousness and justice are sprinkled throughout the psalm. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? I think we have time for you to speak.
The first two stanzas came out as just the essence of Psalm 7, dealing with judgments and judge and accepting the verdict. I wrote it very quickly even while we were studying.
Uh-huh.
But then the opening line, righteousness and judgment, originally was justice, justice pursue.
Yeah.
And because it deals with judging, what came in my head and what kept on staying there was the what the Torah is talking about, the process of judging in Deuteronomy. And the words were tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, which are extremely powerful. So, and once I realized that it doesn't apply individually, but applies to the community where the rest of this came from. My biggest issues were linguistic. I wanted to use the image of the lion, but it was over the top. So I substituted fierce for lion.
Aha, beautiful.
And clay mavet, which is in this particular psalm, the instruments of death, which really refers to weapons, and usually would be, the word that would be used would be neshek. But the writer chose a very specific different thing, which is very resonant and very powerful. So I kept that rather than as weapon, but I referred it the way I was used it, and what I had in mind was the social media that's tearing us apart.
Wow.
And this is of our own devices. We created it. But the biggest hurdle that I had linguistically was tzedek. In my head throughout the time, I kept hearing the Hebrew, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, which is very powerful both linguistically and emotionally. The English translation is just flat, justice, justice. I started writing it and it just didn't work. But then I realized that rather than using the same word twice, tzedek has many meanings. So I just substituted one. And I ended up with righteousness and justice.
Beautiful. I really love that. And it is true. And when you read the psalm, and when Yael read it through in Hebrew, you hear the number of times that tzedek appears in this psalm as in different forms, and that God is referred to, where is it? Elohim Shofet Tzaddik. You know, there's a sense of being this just, a judge who judges justly, which is something we have not necessarily come to believe in our world. So this is just fantastic. I just really love the use of that language and caring so deeply about the linguistic elements of the psalm. And also it's interesting to read this week when the Supreme Court has actually done something which we can feel reflects justice, fully accepting the justice of the verdict. I mean, I get where you're coming from the psalm, but boy, was that pleasant to have this week in terms of our Supreme Court. Well, fantastic, Ben. Thank you so much for this. I love it.
Thank you.
All right, so we are ending for today. And Jacob, are you singing us out? And I will be leading the Shiva Minyan tonight for Lisa and Janet, for those who are available to join us at 6:30 for that service. And tomorrow night, by the way, I'm interviewing Tony Kushner, which I'm preparing for with a lot of pleasure. I'm re-watching Angels in America, which is just an amazing journey to be on in the midst of this particular plague. If you haven't seen it or you haven't watched it in a while, amazing.
Just so moved by people's insightful and beautiful offerings today. So we'll sing out with Create a Pure Heart Within with some Stephen Mitchell. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit. Then I will stand and sing out the power of your forgiveness. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. Adonai, open up my lips. praise. Adonai, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. And my mouth will declare your praise.
Wow, thank you so much for that. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the beautiful weather, at least here in New York City. It's a beautiful day, a little warm, but beautiful sunlight. Bye-bye, everybody. See you all either at the Shiva Minyan tonight or tomorrow morning in class. Thank you for these incredible offerings. So deeply moving to me. And the room will stay open for a few minutes for folks who want to schmooze some more. Bye-bye, everybody.